record and record.
From the beginning.
And I was shown that that Lucifer would return, that the UN and the Vatican were going to be completely behind it, again, under false pretenses. He's going to show up and say, I'm here to save the day, right? And, okay, fine, you know.
Yeah, of course,
ahead,
you can say whatever you want.
But
I've always hated censorship. It's the internet.
Sometimes, you know, once they get you for your first love bite, well, it depends on how aware you are, right?
I forgot my bullets. I never had a gun. Here I am left standing. Am I the only one? For what I see, memories have guilted me. I'll never see the sun.
First of all, as you know, the Anunnaki and the Draco are enemies. Second of all, underneath Baghdad was a stargate that was created by the Anunnaki so that they could transfer from Jupiter to the Earth.
I'll never see the sun. I could just end it all, but the demons will have won.
Magical practitioners that, you know, some are good and some use their magic for good and to heal and to help, and others do use it for evil. And, you know, in some cases, you know, people really were
This is too much sometimes.
From the broken ruins of Babylon, this is End of Days Radio. Oh yeah, I am back. Guess who's back? Back again. Daniel's back. Tell a friend. That's right, today's date is October 6th, 2017. And I do apologize because we have been gone for a long time. I told you guys 2 weeks. It's been, 3.5? I lied. Not on purpose, but still I lied. And I do apologize because I know that so many of you are absolutely fiending. You are fiending for more End of Days Radio. And I am really going to try to bring you more End of Days Radio than ever before. So even though my schedule is packed, it doesn't matter because this is important and we got to make this happen. Today's guest, I'll be talking more about this after the break, by the way. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about because a lot has happened during the break. A lot has happened. The world has just been flipped upside down. But I'll get to that after the break. Today's guest is Matt Landman. Excuse me, gotta clear my throat. Matt Landman, activist and filmmaker, creator of Actual Chemtrail Activists and the world's first two Global Chemtrail Summits in 2015 and 2016 in British Columbia and Oregon, has created a spectacular new 80-minute anti-geo-engineering film which is sure to stir the hearts and minds of many. This movie is an unflinching historical voyage of man's attempt to battle and control the atmospheric domain through the unlimited resources of the mammoth military-industrial complex. Coupled with a controlled and parroted media, this film demonstrates we face the most daunting and dangerous cover-up of our time, and that is referring to the film Frankenskies by Matt Landman. Let's go ahead and give him a call, because he's probably waiting, wondering what the heck is going on, because I'm like 5 minutes late.
Hello.
Hello, Matt.
Yes.
Hi, Matt. Welcome to End of Days Radio.
Thanks so much. Am I on right now?
Yes, we are live.
Terrific. How are you doing?
I am doing great. I am really excited to talk to you. I did want to ask you, has anything new been going on in the world of Matt Landman?
Always. Yeah, it's always something. Right now I'm traveling around touring the film Frankenskies and working on a shorter cut and also filming the sequel. I was able to pass through Vegas like 2 days before the shooting, and I have a whole take on Vegas and how the cell towers, the grid of cell towers, can manipulate the frequency there and what have you, and why they picked Vegas and all this stuff. But that's probably another show. So yeah, I'm staying busy. Thank you. And doing a lot of shows. I'm thankful to be on the show to promote the film and bring awareness to the solar geoengineering regime.
Sweet. And I do definitely want to hear your thoughts on Las Vegas, but I know that's not the main reason that you're here. So, we can talk about whatever you want in whatever order that you like.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
And what was your background like your childhood? How did this all come together and start?
Well, I like to convey to people that I am just a normal person turned activist. Yeah, my childhood wasn't anything super special or anything like that. I come from a lower middle class family. My dad was an alcoholic. Like, I don't think that matters. But yeah, no, I grew up in Virginia. I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C. We bounced around because my dad was a pilot, and ultimately he got a job for Eastern Airlines out of the D.C. airport, Reagan National Airport, and then inevitably Dulles Airport. So we lived right outside of Dulles Airport in Northern Virginia. And I grew up going to a normal high school, got out of school, went to Virginia Tech, studied business and marketing, graduated in 4 years from Virginia Tech, just missed that shooting there after I had left for, I believe, 1 year. Then the shooting happened. I still had friends and what have you down there, and it was a really upsetting event, that Blacksburg, Virginia Tech shooting. That was the biggest one at the time. And then after a couple years working in real estate and mortgages and in the restaurant industry, I moved to Los Angeles. I was hoping to begin my career in film, moving to LA, and LA was nothing like I thought it would be. I was used to the East Coast. I'd never been there. I'd never been to Los Angeles, but I moved there thinking it would be similar to these compact cities that I was used to, like Washington, D.C. and Philly and New York. I thought it was going to be another New York, and it wasn't at all. I thought I could park my car and hop on the subway and do my thing. I guess I really was just going for it, but I drove cross country when I was 23, moved to LA, and didn't strike it rich there. Didn't really even work in film at all. And I ended up down in San Diego after just a year in LA. And I didn't know anybody down there either, but I made some friends and worked. And ultimately I ended up moving to the top of California to go back to school for film and even business. I got a master's degree in business. And I've just worked all different walks of life, really. I've worked as a finance analyst. I've done door-to-door sales and even door-to-door fundraising for nonprofit. I've worked for various nonprofits, and after getting out of school in Northern California, all the way at the top of Northern California, 5 hours north of San Francisco even, I wanted to get grounded. I worked actually as a finance analyst right after school, still stuck in a cubicle, and finally I had an opportunity to work on an organic farm growing squash and potatoes. That was our main thing that we did, is a dozen varieties of squash, a dozen varieties of potatoes. And I literally got grounded for the first time. and I learned at the age of 32 how much I didn't know. I dropped. I mean, I had 40 grand in student loans. I had this massive student loan bill for going to film school and master's in business and from Virginia Tech. Because we never had money growing up, so I had to get out loans. And after all that, I still didn't know that a potato grew a potato. It's really, really sad. And I went to one of the best Fairfax County public schools. They said it was one of the best public school systems for high school in the country. So I went to a really good public school, and then I went to Virginia Tech, graduated with a bachelor's of science, and I got a master's degree, and I'm a pretty smart dude. I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'm around pretty smart people, and I didn't know that a potato grew potatoes, right? So I was really, really disconnected to a lot of things. And once I really got grounded and worked outside and learned about farming and sustainability, I woke up to chemtrails. Because I was outside every day and I saw these storm patterns being manipulated, and evidently there was drought being caused in California. They were literally creating a drought over California, and I witnessed that. I was out there in the Pacific Northwest, where the jet stream usually comes off the ocean to bring moisture to the entire Pacific Northwest seasonally. There's ancient 3,000-year-old redwood trees that are used to the seasonal deluge. And 3,000-year-old trees that get rain every single year, and then all of a sudden we're in this catastrophic drought created by this geoengineering, weather manipulation, frequency-controlled program via these ionospheric heaters and this Tesla technology and this HAARP technology and all this stuff. I really got a kick in the face to a big wake-up that was weather engineering. And then once you start digging in and falling into that or falling down that rabbit hole, you learn so much, that you never really would have thought that could have possibly existed. And then you learn how much you didn't know, and that you didn't even know that you didn't know. And so many people are in the dark, especially on this subject, that after having shined some light on it and brought it into my reality, in due time, I devoted my life to it just 3 years ago, and realized that if I didn't get loud about it, then a lot of people were still going to be in the dark. This was such a topic that I felt like that nobody in my circle and nobody that I've ever even met really knew anything about it. So I wanted to kind of take it by the reins and do something about that. So that's my life now, is bringing awareness to solar geoengineering and chemtrails and a lot of other truths as well that we can get into. But that's me now, is chemtrail activism. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to have you here. One thing that really confused me when I first became aware of chemtrails, I saw what was going on in the sky. I always thought it was just normal. And one day I was going on Twitter and I saw some of these pictures people were putting up where there was like a checkerboard pattern, like there was way too much, way more than there should have been. Next thing I did was I went on Google and I looked it up, and what I found was websites and different informative pages telling me that these were actually contrails. Matt, did you think the same thing that I did at first? And what is the difference between a chemtrail and a contrail?
Well, in my situation, when I first started, it was firsthand. I witnessed some stuff going on in the sky, and I knew something wasn't right. But it took a friend, just like you saw a post on Twitter, it took a friend saying to me, chemtrails, it was over the phone, and I was talking to him about how brainwashed people were concerning 9/11 and other truths similar. And he said, yeah, but chemtrails are right in your face. And I had witnessed some serious stuff, but I had tabled it or shelved it in my mental, because it was a mental conflict, right? So I've got this paradigm in my head, and it didn't really fit. So I had shelved it, but I knew deep down something was going on, but I didn't know what. And when he mentioned chemtrails, it unfolded for me. And yeah, I did. There's always that doubt, right? Like there was a point where I was like, what am I going to, I'm going to devote my life to this? What if it is just contrails? But ultimately, once you learn enough, you come to the realization that there's a distinct difference. Now, it gets really kind of complicated when you go to even explain the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail at this day and age, at this juncture in humanity, you know. So let's back up. We'll back up to, let's just say it's 1980, the year of my birth. Okay. 1980, you ask me this question, and I'll answer it as follows, and it'll make sense at the end. So a contrail, which, make note on the verb, the way that the word has even been constructed, the contrail, you know, this rabbit hole, this trail of breadcrumbs kind of thing, and it's a con. But either way, it's a word created by the Air Force that stands for condensation trail. And in 1980, the jet engines on most of the jet aircraft, they released really hot air from the back of the engines. After the jet fuel was combusted through the engines and all that, through the back of the engines, hot air is spewed. This is in 1980. And that hot air going into the super cold atmosphere, based on the barometric pressure and the humidity of the atmosphere at the time, you can get what's called a contrail, which is a short line out of the back of the trail, a very short, quickly fading cirrus cloud that's linear out of the back of the plane. So it's a little white line out of the back of the plane that will, depending upon the atmospheric conditions, will dissolve in, let's say, less than a minute, even though it's way quicker than that, but just for purpose of definitions. Less than a minute, the white line out of the back of the plane will dissipate. Well, in 1980, the research was already going on. If you watch my film Frankenskies, it starts with the timeline, chronology, the chronological timeline of it all. And a lot of people don't know that in 1916, this gentleman by the name of Hatfield, he created weather manipulation by spraying a silver iodide concoction of chemicals from a 35-foot tower in San Diego. There was a drought in San Diego, and they hired this guy because he said he could make it rain. He busted the dams. It flooded for over 3 days because of a silver dust he sprayed in the atmosphere, thinking he could seed the clouds and make it rain. So it's been going on for a long time. So in 1980, a chemtrail would be a chemical trail, also a word created by the U.S. Air Force. The chemtrail, standing for chemical trail, is a white line out of the back of the jet engines that persists. It's a persistent linear cirrus cloud formation, and these will last for quite some time. And just for definition, I would say over a minute. But some of them last for, depending upon the chemical composition, because there's different chemicals, right? And they act differently. So different chemicals act differently, and different chemicals will act differently based on the atmospheric conditions as well. So you can have these unfold and bellow into a white milky haze, and you can have, well, NASA, it's a NASA quote that they use the atmosphere as a laboratory. And they do, and they mix chemicals. So some of the dispersals out of the back of the jets will act one way, and some will act another, and some will persist longer. But essentially, they're mixing chemicals to experiment with the sky. Now we're going to fast forward to present day. So present day contrails do not exist. Okay, the traditional terminology of condensation trail out of the back of jets. And so, you know, it's hard for me to say this because this took a lot of learning and, you know, exploring and theorizing and hypothesizing and research and all this stuff. But contrails don't exist anymore. And what it is they've got this JP8 jet fuel. So they've got jet fuel additives, So that's one thing. We've got new jet fuels with additives, and when these additives are revealing themselves, that's when we see a contrail. Also, we've got barium release rockets and drones. These drones that are up there that are spraying barium, which is highly toxic, that looks like a contrail. It's a short, dissipating white trail. But the planes that you see, which this is regularly, you'll see planes that are flying at different altitudes during different atmospheric conditions on a clear day, on a cloudy day, on a humid day, on a hot day, on a cold day. You see planes up in the sky that are flying with nothing coming out of the back. No chemtrail, no contrail. And that is now normal because of the new jet engines. There's new technology, and just about all the planes out there are now outfit with this high bypass turbofan jet engine. The high bypass turbofan jet engine, it's super efficient compared to the old engines, and the air is cooled before it releases out of the back of the engine. So you don't have superheated air coming out of the back of engines anymore to create condensation. So that old term can be thrown in the trash. You know, it's old. It's an old term that doesn't exist anymore. So if you're seeing what you think is a contrail, keep your eyes out, because they could be mixing chemicals, and that's just a chemical that looks like it's dissipating, but it's, you know, just the chemical composition is it looks that way. And then look at the trajectory of the things that look like what you're calling or what you may be thinking is a contrail, because they have an up-down trajectory when they're barium release rockets. And once you have built this mental construct to reflect that it could be, you know, once you're looking through the lens of someone who's waking up and curious, and you think, well, maybe there are barium release rockets over my home and what have you, then you can see the trajectory that it's up down trajectory, and it's barium that they're releasing from the back of those drones and those rockets. So yeah, that's my answer. It's kind of long and complicated, but I mean, that is how they keep us on our toes, is by making it complicated and shrouding it all with these details and confusion tactics with all the different terminologies. I mean, just geoengineering, which is chemtrails alone, there's 10 different terms. And every agency is using a different term. The CIA refers to it as stratospheric aerosol injections. NASA refers to it as their CARE program, the Charged Aerosol Release Experiment, CARE, C-A-R-E. There's also the Solar Radiation Management Governance, and there's the Solar Radiation Management Governance Initiative. You can look up SRMGI, they call it. There's solar geoengineering. There's the Tropospheric Aerosol Program through the Department of Energy. And if you know that search term, which you have to be so well researched to even know the right terms to look up, otherwise you're just looking up what they want you to look up, which is chemtrails and geoengineering, and you're going to be led to controlled opposition and debunkers, and you're going to be confused and thinking that maybe you are barking up the wrong tree, that maybe waking up to chemtrails isn't for you. But ultimately, look at this 2001 document. If you type in TAPDOE.PDF, right? TAP space DOE space .PDF. It'll show you a document from 2001. The internet will pull up a document from 2001 PDF file. It's an Adobe file. When you put in that .PDF, it helps with your search criteria. And the TAP stands for Tropospheric Aerosol Program. The DOE stands for Department of Energy. So the Department of Energy set up the Tropospheric Aerosol Program, which is the chemtrail program, in 2001. And they set up the budget and how they were going to do it and what the budget would be for 2002 and ongoing, and all the drones and research craft and ground-based stations and everything that they would need to push this agenda, which is full spectrum dominance of our weather, air, and water supply.
Awesome. And earlier you mentioned drones. What I usually see leaving these chemtrails and what everybody else reports are these white airplanes. Do you happen to know where these things might come from? Are they piloted? Are they drones? And do they really disappear like some people are now reporting?
Well, you're not the first one to notice those little white planes. I've I've been on a bunch of shows recently. I really called into my reality wanting to push the film Frankenskies because it needs to be. It's the director's cut. A newer version will be available soon enough. But either way, if you want to learn or help someone else come into the light and learn, Frankenskies on YouTube is an amazing resource. And since I've started promoting the show, a lot of people have been asking me about those little white jets, and they're peculiar. And many people, I met a woman from Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania. She says none of the planes leave any trails except for when all those white ones show up. And they come all together and they grid the sky. And I do believe that they are now unmanned, just for liability, and they don't want whistleblowers and all that stuff. But they've got the technology and the Black Ops budget to fund a drone campaign. So yes, they're drones. Are they disappearing? I've seen this. I've witnessed this as well, and I've witnessed it all over the world.
You've seen it happen.
Yeah, the planes will, based on the angle that you're looking at them, they seem to not be there at all. Even at very low altitudes, these planes kind of are transparent. Now, I know that there's cloaking technology. I do know that the U.S. military and Air Force has cloaking technology, but why would they be cloaking planes while they're trying to trick us into thinking that the planes are regular planes? Okay, so that's really a curious one. I do know that there is this Project Bluebeam where holographic images can be projected. And for instance, on 9/11, there were no planes that day that hit that building. The planes in New York weren't actual planes. They were holographic. So, and I hate to mix topics because I don't want to bump into anybody's cognitive dissonance.
Oh no, it's no problem. We cover 9/11 and holograms and stuff like that. In fact, I had another researcher on who, he was a little bit more out there than yourself. Definitely, he said this was all done by reptilians, but he was the first to make me aware of the disappearing planes. And I went ahead and watched it on YouTube, watched the different videos about it, and there seems to be quite a bit of footage of these things disappearing. So I totally would buy into the idea that holograms are involved. I mean, they did Tupac, they did Michael Jackson, and there's even some other things out there that they've done, and it looked completely real.
Yeah, they even did Jerry Garcia. So they had this technology back when the Grateful Dead was on tour. And they tricked thousands of people into thinking, with the help of psychotropic drugs, they tricked people into thinking Jerry Garcia was on stage when he wasn't even there. So if that was what they could do then, imagine what they can do now. And the person that you interviewed last about that mentioned the reptilians, good for him. That's great that he's getting the word out there on mind-opening topics such as the potential for interdimensional warfare, because we are in a silent war. Who are we up against? I can't necessarily answer that question, but I have tabled different ideas, and I'll continue to test different hypotheses concerning it. So yeah, the planes pop in and out of dimensions, or are they holographic, or are they cloaked? There is some really suspicious stuff going on, and are we going to get to the bottom of it? Eventually we will, but right now it's just, let's bring the mass consciousness of awareness to the skies, because first and foremost, there is this thing called a consensus reality. And we are really powerful co-creating beings of light, or whatever we are. We're amazing, and we can co-create. And if we're all believing one thing, such as the planes in the sky are real, then maybe we're helping Either way, I'm kind of going on a tangent. we need to bring everyone's attention to the truth in the skies, and then we can expose it for what it really is. You know, there's a lot of weird stuff. Have you seen the black line shooting out of the front of the planes?
Nope, haven't seen that one yet. That sounds interesting. What's going on there?
Okay, so I've witnessed it myself a few times, and it's funny that I call this into my reality the truth, right? And I'm just a normal guy that's brought his attention to the skies and trying to make a difference. But I do feel like that I have been shown things, kind of. I don't know how to really convey that, but there is this black laser beam looking thing that shoots out of the front of chemtrail planes. The best theory that I've heard thus far is that it's like a boring laser because they're mixing chemicals, right? They're mixing at least a handful of chemicals, the barium, strontium, aluminum, and they want to cover a lot of space. So they'll put out one chemical and it's in a haze, it's unfolding in the sky. And I believe that these drones have this boring technology where they shoot this laser out the nose, and then it can make a little hole through the chemicals to put their next chemical in to do their experiment while they mix the chemicals up there. But it could be the way that the drone is maneuvered from the ground. It could be something completely different. People say that it's a shadow. It's not a shadow. But yeah, there is some really suspicious, really interesting out there stuff going on in our skies. And I like people when they're new to this. A lot of people, it's really hard waking up. It is. And you want to go back into your shell because you don't want to see the world through this lens when you first start to wake up, because it's kind of scary, but ultimately the truth will set you free. But first it'll make you mad or upset you. So I like to be gentle with people when they're waking up to chemtrails sometimes and bring their attention to those days that the sky is completely clear, because at least you can bring people's attention to the skies. And then once they start to see that there's an abnormal, irregular pattern of appearance in the lines in the sky and an unusual, statistically significant uptick in air traffic on those days of lines in the sky. I mean, you're sitting outside, you're on the farm or whatever you do. I don't care if you're doing construction or whatever you do. You could be a taxi driver. If you look at the sky and you notice that there's just a handful of planes flying over your sky and the skies are blue, but on those days of checkerboard grid pattern skies, a lot of planes show up at once. Something is actually going on when that happens. And to just gently bring people's attention to that, I think, is a nice first step to waking everybody up. Sorry if I didn't answer your question.
No, that's definitely a good bit of information. You also mentioned that somehow HAARP might be involved, and I've been aware of HAARP for quite a long time, but I've never really been sure of what the heck it was. Would you mind going into that a little bit?
Definitely, and it's touched upon in my film Frankenskies, and in the film it's actually referenced at a Senate hearing, and people think that it's a conspiracy theory and what have you. If you watch this hearing, they're discussing it like it's just it's a thing. It's something that they've worked on for a long time. So Nikola Tesla, he had this understanding of frequency that we should have all grown up learning in the textbooks. We should all learn about frequency and what it does to us and how we operate within it and everything. I mean, it's so much part of our world that the powers that be wanted to keep that truth from us. So this is Tesla technology of frequency manipulation. And what it is HAARP stands for, it's an acronym, HAARP. And I believe it stands for Highly Active Auroral Research Program. I might have one of those words wrong, but either way, it started off in Alaska. And what it was is the U.S. Air Force built this antenna grid on the ground. So it's a few football fields in size, and they put all these antennas. They built all these antennas in a grid. And these antennas can put out a frequency that can be directionalized. So they can point these antennas all at one spot and focus all this frequency on one spot. And what it does is they focus all of the antennas that are on the ground, they focus them all at a focal point in the atmosphere, particularly the layer of the atmosphere referred to as the ionosphere. Okay, and that's where the weather patterns live mostly. That's where our jet stream lives. So the jet stream lives in the ionosphere, and if you can point these frequencies at a certain point in the ionosphere, you can superheat that specific point where all the frequencies from the towers on the ground are pointed at. So it first was it was first just research, and then they learned that they could manipulate weather patterns with it. So what they do is, with the help of airplanes, they release these aerosolized nanoparticulate metallics into the atmosphere, such as aluminum, barium, strontium. Okay, it's nanoparticle, aerosolized, oxidized aluminum. Once that starts to unfold into a white haze in the atmosphere, then they can use this HAARP technology to zap that space, and the metallics help superheat it because it's metal, right? So if it was just a regular atmosphere, it wouldn't work as well. So they superheat the metallics, the nanoparticulate aerosolized particles that are in the ionosphere. They superheat a certain spot, and they can superheat a portion of the atmosphere at that location. And so they choose the location, they superheat that spot, and then because of the superheating in the upper atmosphere, an upward current from the ground level is created, which creates a high pressure, a spot of high pressure. So if you remember watching the weather as a kid, I don't know if people still watch TV, but on the weather, when they're showing the meteorologist, whether man or woman is showing the weather patterns, there's these H's and L's that are dancing around the screen that dictate where the storm patterns are going because of high and low pressure. The H stands for high pressure. And it just means like high pressure is air going up, low pressure is air going down, like cool air. But these things move around in big bubbles, and they dictate where storms are going to go, and they steer things like the jet stream. Well, if you can superheat the ionosphere and create high pressure wherever you want, well, you can steer jet streams by pushing things around your own way. So they started with HAARP in just Alaska, and then they learned that if they had two stations, it would work a lot better because they could hit it from each side type thing. So if you want to superheat the atmosphere at a certain point, if you have an ionospheric heater is what they're calling them now, the HAARP stations. If you have a HAARP station on one side of the focal point and on the other side of the focal point, you can really zap it even more so. Okay, so the frequency that they use is basically like this EMF type electromagnetic frequencies that are emitted from these new cell towers even. And they say researchers have claimed that these new GWIN cell towers, the 5G and everything that's put up everywhere, that they may even interact with the weather control stuff. So these ionospheric heaters that are HAARP technology, also DARPA is one of it's like this big golf ball looking thing, and they're even mobile. They have dozens of these all over the world now, and they can superheat with the frequencies. They can superheat the ionosphere wherever they want to steer storm patterns and to steer jet streams or create a huge high pressure bubble so that when the jet stream comes off the Pacific Ocean and wants to go into Northern California or the Pacific Northwest, it has to steer around this gigantic high pressure bubble that they create. So that's what they've currently done, and that's what they did when we had the catastrophic drought in California, is they created a large high pressure bubble that the jet stream has to steer around. So now the jet stream goes all the way up to Canada, to Vancouver, Canada, and loops around, and they control it this way. So also these ionospheric heaters, okay, and if you want to talk global warming, you have to mention atmospheric heaters. They're superheating the atmosphere, okay, which causes high pressure down low. You're even manipulating the temperatures at the ground level. If you want to talk global warming, you have to mention ionospheric heaters. It's the elephant in the room. It's actually causing it, even though global warming is a hoax. If the planet is heating, it's got to be caused by the superheating of the ionosphere that they do on a regular basis all over the planet. Okay, so also you can point these frequency control antenna arrays. You can point them at fault lines and cause earthquakes as well, which is also touched upon in my introductory film Frankenskies, which is on YouTube for free. So yeah, so that's my answer to that one. And then also Ilana Freeland, she's an amazing researcher on HAARP, and she's got a book, Chemtrails, HAARP, and the Full Spectrum Dominance of Planet Earth. The book is jam-packed with information, and she's coming out with another couple books, and I'll be interviewing her for my sequel. I'll be interviewing her about the synthetic biological aspects and all this. But if you want to dig deeper into the HAARP phenomenon or technology, I advise you to find Ilana Freeland and maybe watch some of her stuff or read up on some of her information.
Is there a dual-fold purpose for this besides geo-engineering? Are they trying to possibly mind control us as well?
Well, then when you're manipulating frequencies in the ionosphere, yes, there are patents, and I've witnessed it myself in Vancouver, Canada, where with manipulation of the ionosphere, you can actually lower the ionosphere so that it's closer to ground level, and then you can send frequencies that bounce off the ionosphere and bounce off the ground, so that the people that are on the ground where this is occurring, they're amidst this frequency. So people that don't grasp how manipulatable the human mind is very subjective to control, to just even subtly. There's this things called binaural beats, for instance, and you can put yourself into a different brainwave place just by listening to a different frequency in each ear, and your brain will calculate the differential, and it'll go into that differential. The goal is to put yourself into a theta brainwave state and maybe like meditate or relax or whatever. But there are patents, and it is used on different cities for different reasons to manipulate the frequency at which we operate. So fear is a frequency. Love is a frequency. Our hearts operate at a certain frequency. Our brains operate at a certain frequency. All of our organs and everything together are harmonious, and we resonate at a certain tone, at a certain frequency, and that can be manipulated. Okay, it's very subtle, and if you don't know that it's going on, and you don't know about any of this research or anything like that, you see the sky, and it's got this crazy ripple-looking thing in it, and then you see through your media manipulation, normalization, social engineering that there's these new clouds that have just been added to the cloud atlas. You think that it's business as usual, but no, you're being actually mind controlled and put into a certain brainwave state so that you can be manipulated. So yes, they can do that with those devices, and they do.
The topic that's been surrounding chemtrails for quite a while now is this red wine test. Have you heard about it? And if so, have you tried it?
I think that I think I can speak to anything that you can bring up related to chemtrails. I'm so researched on it, it's out of control. And yes, I have yet to do the red wine test because ultimately, I hate to say, I think that we've all been exposed to the synthetic biology that are in the chemtrails. I think it's a very large aspect of the agenda. It has to do with artificial intelligence and having AI as a way of life and getting this self-replicating carbon fiber nanotubes in all of us. Okay, so we've all been exposed to it. this Morgellons. It's called Morgellons. It's also called synthetic biology. It's also called self-replicating carbon fiber nanotubes, and it's patented. And I've got different activists that I communicate with regularly all over the world, and people are doing these nano buckets where you have your feet in this water that has a magnet and different frequencies, electrical pulses being put through it that disables the nanotech, and it goes through your feet and it releases through your feet. So that's another interesting one. But yes, I've spoken to people that have done the red wine test. I've met people that have done the red wine test. I don't need to know that it's in me. It's kind of like, for me, I'll just pass on that one for now. But what you do is you rinse your mouth out so I do oil pulling almost on a regular basis, where I'll do coconut oil or sesame oil in the morning, and you just swish it around in your mouth for 25 minutes, and it pulls toxins from your body, even heavy metals, and you spit it out. It's called oil pulling. Well, similarly, red wine, if you swish it around in your mouth, it'll pull out these carbon fiber nanotubes that are very high tech, that are supposedly in all of us. Pretty scary stuff. And no, I've not done it, and I do know all about it. I'll inevitably end up filming it and have someone go through it, and then put it under a microscope and send it off to a lab and go through these different, we have so many hypotheses that we can test scientifically, because basically we have to take science into our own hands, right? This entire scientific community and the media and the military industrial complex and education, it's all been hijacked. Everything's been hijacked. So it's up to us to discern, and it's up to us to take the truth in our own hands and to seek that truth, right? So every hypothesis that's out there, I'll end up testing, and I look forward to getting some of that stuff under a microscope and into the right hands. But until then, I'm pretty confident that we've all been exposed to it.
Do other countries besides the United States, are they involved in geoengineering as well?
Yes, so there's a push right now to launch full spectrum chemtrailing, where there's a global solar geoengineering governance regime, a self-proclaimed regime that governs the full-scale deployment, where the entire planets or the entire world will have chemtrails sprayed every day to completely block out the sun, to save us from this global warming hoax. So it is everywhere. It is everywhere because they've outfitted planes that go everywhere. Some of the commercial airlines and what have you are outfit with different spraying technologies. So I don't think you can really escape it at this juncture. I've been told, like, Russia doesn't do it. Russia totally does it. You can look at high altitude aerial images, and you can see that Russia does it. You can see photos from Russia that Russia does it. I've been told that they don't do it in Peru. There's groups that are in South America that post images of it. I think maybe that they don't do it as often in certain places because maybe the government's not on board, but if you're part of, what do you call it? The UN, then you are being told that you have to do this. They're already pushing it as the only solution globally to global warming. So if government bodies are not already on board, they're going to be forced to be on board. But I definitely think that the US, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom and New Zealand and Europe, they seem to get it more than anywhere else, for whatever that means.
Now, are any countries at the head of the pack in regards to fighting geoengineering?
Our enemies. So Iran, for instance, like in my film Frankenskies, it touches upon how the Iranian president, Ahmadinejad, he woke up to this weather warfare and is outspoken about it. He says that the clouds are being drained before his storms get to his country. They're causing drought in Iran. They are superheating the ionosphere over Iran, causing global record temperatures in Iran. The Venezuelan president, what's his name? I don't even know if his name's Hugo Chavez, but he's outspoken on it. He says that the U.S. even creates earthquakes, right? But there's only a couple countries that are willing to stick up for themselves, because there's only a few countries left that haven't been invaded. I know if Gaddafi was around, he'd be speaking up against it, but because he didn't have a central bank, they demonized him and invaded his country. Same with Iraq, same with Syria. There's not very many countries left that are willing to speak up against the U.S. military-industrial global complex.
Does Kim Jong-un, aka Rocket Man, know about this?
I'd like to talk to him. I'd love to sit him down, and I don't know if he knows about it. Like, he hasn't spoken about it. I doubt that the U.S. Air Force is spraying over their country necessarily, but I'm sure they're putting plumes of it just off. I'm sure they're getting exposed to it anyways. Is he doing it to his own people? I don't know. That's a good question. I'd love to get to the bottom of that one, because maybe he's our only outlet at this point.
Is it the Illuminati behind this all?
Well, that's the thing. People want to know the who, what, why, where, when before they can build a mental construct, because that's the way that they build a framework. That's the way that they've been socially engineered to think. And if I can't tell them the who, then they'd rather not accept this reality, which is ongoing in front of everyone's face. Short answer, yes. But who's the Illuminati, right? Are they led by the Rothschilds or shape-shifting reptilians? Like, I can't answer these questions. There's some really treasonous, evil. There's a treasonous, evil, rogue element that's in control of all this, and even JFK saw this coming, and so they had to take him out. I honestly do not think that World War II ever ended. I think that the Nazis were very smart, that they realized that eventually that they would lose if they didn't smarten up and do it differently. And so they rewrote history. They did Operation Paperclip, where thousands of Nazi scientists came over under Operation Paperclip. They created new branches of the CIA mind control, MK Ultra. They created NASA. NASA has a budget of $54 million per day, and NASA is full of it, completely full of it. So if you think that NASA is looking out for your own good, they have $54 million a day budget, and they have a chemtrail program that's public with a fleet of aircraft that, quote, like I said, they use the atmosphere as a laboratory, and they make things called noctilucent clouds. They publicly say, oh, we made some noctilucent clouds. We use aluminum, barium, and strontium. They are researching on how to poison us. And they lie. And they're Nazis, right? Along with Hollywood. Okay, so you've got Hollywood, you've got the media under control, you've got CIA mind control, and they build our mental constructs. They frame the way we think, and they control the dialogue on everything. They problem reaction solution us into almost all of our scenarios that we're dealing with now. And we think that we control the way that we think, but we're spoon-fed everything, So really, we're suffering from mental slavery brought from Nazi Germany, and we're scrambling around trying to figure out if it's the Rothschilds or what the heck is going on. When really we lost World War II, in my opinion,
because of Project Paperclip.
Well, not just because of Project Paperclip, but I mean, if you look at it. The Nazis have taken over Hollywood. They have taken, like, Disney, Hollywood, NASA, CIA, and God only knows what else. It's Nazi Germany, except for they don't want us to know that it's Nazi Germany. Otherwise, we'd realize that we didn't win that war. There's eyewitnesses that Hitler got off a submarine in Argentina, right? Like the whole story that we're fed, history is rewritten. It's the Bush administration. Barbara Bush rewrote the history books, right? Nancy Reagan rewrote the history books. If you think about it, we don't know our true history. We don't even know. We definitely don't know our history back like thousands of years, but we don't even know what happened 100 years ago. Everything has been hijacked. Our history has been hijacked. Even our frequencies have been hijacked. Our music has been retuned to be weaponized. Like 432 hertz, music tuned at 432 hertz resonates with us and opens us up to a world of possibilities, to our true powers. So the music was retuned. Our language was hijacked. Half the words we say, we don't even know what we're actually saying. And we're casting spells that we didn't even know we were casting. Everything was. The religion, the political system, Hollywood. We're fully indoctrinated and brainwashed, and we really don't even know what's up and what's down at this point.
One thing I can say that might prove your point a little bit is that if we really wanted to catch Mengele, I'm pretty sure that we would have been able to do it. It seems like we kind of let him go.
Who?
Mengele.
Who's Mengele? Sorry.
The evil Nazi doctor that was performing all these awful experiments on people. Supposedly, he escaped to South America as part of the whole Nazis going to South America thing.
Right. No, I just did a show on mind control, and yeah, sorry, the name slipped me. And yeah, no, we didn't. And I know this is anti-American or whatever you want to say. It's not patriotic, but if you really look with your eyes and open up to the potentialities, and you look at Operation High Jump, for instance, Operation Paperclip, you can come to the inconvenient reality that we are being controlled by a force that is not just a corrupted U.S. government, from birth. It's like, okay, so the thing is our entire paradigm has been hijacked, right? Like during the 20s and 30s, when all this was being set up, the Federal Reserve and maritime law and the birth certificate and all of this stuff that puts us in the legal name, and how we're actually products of maritime commerce, and these corporations have more power over us, and all this stuff. Like who came up with all this, really? Like, if you really think about it, we're being attacked. Our food, our water, our health, the medical mafia, fluoridation, fluoride. Do we really think that Hitler was that smart that he knew that fluoride was going to mess with our pineal gland? Like these powers that be, at a certain perfect juncture of humanity, had all of this information on how to hijack our timeline. Right? Mm-hmm. And 9/11 is part of it. And we're trying, and even I think the digital, like this whole digital age, I don't think humanity was even ready for it. But honestly, if you really dig deep enough, you'll come to the truth. And the truth is we're being completely attacked on every single level by who? That's the big question. Why? That's an even bigger question, because if we had our true powers, then what? Right? So really, it just takes enough digging. But the chemtrails is like the beginning of the truth. If you can wake up to your weather and your air is being controlled, that corporations like Monsanto are being tapped on the shoulder and said, hey, you need to come up with aluminum-resistant genetics because we're spraying the skies with aluminum. Don't worry, your seeds and your Frankenstein bees will be the only things that survive once we launch full-scale global deployment of chemtrails. Once they launch this, once they get the international approval and launch full-scale deployment of chemtrails, which is coming in a couple years, I'm thinking they're spoon-feeding us it as the only solution, that the media is on board, that they're launching it in spring in Tucson, Arizona. This coming spring, 2018, they're launching solar geoengineering. They're going to be spraying aluminum from airplanes and balloons to prove that they can block out the sun to save us. Once they have conditioned us and shown the world that they have the solution, then they're going to launch full-scale deployment of chemtrails in our lifetime. I'm talking like 1 to 2 years from now. And the skies will be totally screwed with on a daily basis. We won't have sunlight. Everything is going to change. Everything is going to change, and they will have full spectrum control of who gets sunlight, who gets water, who gets fresh air. It's a really dystopian, evil future. And if you look at the AI agenda and how they're pushing this AI, and they say that we need to become part robots, otherwise the robots are going to take over, it's all problem, reaction, solution, fear-mongering to get us to become robotic. And again, why? It's to control us because they fear our evolution of consciousness.
Earlier you mentioned spells and NASA and things like that, and one of the biggest conspiracy things going on right now, and I did actually hear you touch on this briefly on another one of your interviews, but could NASA actually be hiding the shape of the Earth? Could the Earth really be flat?
Yes! The answer is yes. Oh man, where to go with this one? Okay, so if you grew up in the public school system in the United States, you're completely indoctrinated, right? You don't realize the degree at which they want us controlled. And it's slavery, but not like we were told. It's mental slavery, and we all are subject to it. But during our upbringing, we are told, so there's something, I don't know if it's karmic law or some sort of that we are the co-creators, so we all have to be programmed to co-create the reality that they want? Or is it that there's, for some reason, there needs to be disclosure that we need to be told the truth, and even if the truth is told to us and it's hidden in plain sight, that at least the truth was told to us, so then we're responsible for our own destiny kind of thing? But either way, we are told the truth, but in a secretive kind of way. And what we are told is that there was slavery and that Harriet Tubman freed the slaves and she took them on the Underground Railroad, which was an invisible, there was no railroad, it wasn't underground, it was just Harriet Tubman, this African slave, and she went and freed slaves in the middle of the night, and she took them outside in the dark, and she found the North Star, and she said, there's the North Star, Polaris, we'll follow that north. And that was the Underground Railroad, following the North Star north, the Polaris. And then she would take them over the Mason-Dixon line, which is the Potomac River, which is right where I used to live, which divides Virginia from Washington, D.C. And once you get over the Mason-Dixon line, once you get over that river, north of that line, you're free. You're no longer a slave, right? But we have to really read between the lines here, because Polaris, it is our ticket to freedom, right? But it's not our ticket to freedom from slavery because of the color of our skin. It's our ticket to freedom from mental slavery. And I can go into this even more detail. I mean, I can go in like our entire framework of what space is. Our entire framework has been shaped by the media and by Hollywood. We've never been there, but we think that we know exactly what it's like, right? But ultimately, the North Star doesn't move. It never has. It never will. And if we're spinning and blasting through space and at a tilt and all this stuff, that's one of your first keys is why isn't Polaris moving? Why isn't the North Star moving? And I know people will argue with it and it'll bump up against cognitive dissonance and what have you. But I've met a Marine. I met a Marine recently who was trying to wake me up to this topic and get my juices flowing on it and have me awake to the potential of us being completely lied to. And again, why? It's why. Why would we be completely lied to? It's to control our destiny, right? To control who we really are and our evolving DNA, our evolving consciousness. There's there's the powers that be. They don't want us to come into our true timeline, our true potential destiny, right? So they're trying to steer it, and through control of where we are and who we are and what the planet is like and all this stuff, they can control us until we become robots, and then they can completely control us. But I met this Marine when he was first trying to show me to it. He took me, with lasers, okay, and he proved that there's no curvature, right? If you go, there's so many different places on Earth where I try not to get into this one because it bumps up against people's cognitive dissonance. I know your show has a lot of open-minded people, and that's cool, and I'm glad to talk about it. But I mean, like, I've brought it up before, and people have been like, I was going to share your movie, but now I can't. It's like, look, the movie is what it is, right? You can't, and I'm just a messenger. The movie brings truth about the history, the chronology of chemtrails. You cannot watch that film and still deny the existence of a program that is very much real, right? Chemtrails, geo-engineering, solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol injections, tropospheric aerosol program, all that stuff, it's ongoing. It's poisoning our soil. It's poisoning our plants. It's poisoning our children. It's poisoning us. It's dictating the future of humanity. It's very important for everybody. So don't let this flat earth stuff get in the way, because I'm only testing hypotheses and taking science into my own hand, which is the only thing that I can do when I own up to my sovereignty as a empowered being, right? And there's no curvature, and we're not moving, okay? You can do experiments out the wazoo. You know, there's this Michelson-Morley, the most famous failed experiment, Michelson-Morley, and these two researchers did experiments for 30 years at the turn of the century, and they were trying to just determine the exact speed at which we were spinning, the exact speed at which we were blasting through space because of the Big Bang, right? By doing so, it was a really simple experiment, okay? They said, look, we know what the speed of light is. Light is a wave, and it's a constant. So if we shoot light with the curve of the Earth, with the spin of the Earth, right, and against the spin of the Earth, and do these different calculations and research, we can, by knowing the constant, which is light, we can determine the exact speed at which we're spinning, the exact speed at which we're blasting through space, right? Well, it was the most famous failed experiment because they proved that there was zero motion, no motion whatsoever. Okay, and I know this is really like the brick wall of cognitive dissonance. Maybe it won't come up if you talk about holographic planes and 9/11, and maybe it won't come up if you talk about immediate adverse reactions to vaccines. Maybe it won't come up when I tell you fluoride is really bad and that you shouldn't have it in your tap water. And maybe it won't come up when I say that they're controlling your weather and spraying you with self-replicating carbon fiber nanotube AI technology. But you talk about the shape of the place that we live on and whether or not we're spinning, and people freak out. Guess what? You've been indoctrinated. Okay? When we were growing up, we were told that even when Columbus was about to sail over the ocean, that people were saying, oh no, they're falling off the edge of the earth is flat. And then those people were ridiculed and burned at the stake for being so stupid because they were just going over the curve, right? Well, there's countless experiments proving that the Earth is not a globe, okay? It would be impossible to see buildings from the other side of the Great Lake that Chicago's on. I think it's Lake Superior, I don't even know, Lake Michigan, whatever the lake that Chicago's on, you wouldn't be able to see the lake from the other side. Okay. Again, I'm just the messenger, right? And what I wanted to do at that juncture in my life, which was just like 8 months ago or maybe a year ago now, I wanted to disprove this flat earth psyop, which was dividing the truther community, right? That's what I wanted to do. I set out to disprove it. But once you dig, and you dig, and you dig, and you dig, it's impossible to disprove something it's impossible. You can't prove that we're spinning. You can't prove that there's any curvature whatsoever, and you can't prove that we're blasting through space because of the Big Bang. There's no proof whatsoever, And if Operation High Jump really did occur, and Admiral Byrd, Byrd, really did encounter alien craft that were working in conjunction with the Nazis, right? The Nazis, they encountered things like these greys and these reptilians, is what people are thinking, and they were given information on how to manipulate the mass consciousness, the timeline of humanity. And these evil bastards took it hook, line, and sinker. You know what I mean? So, of course, they're gonna lie to us about the everything that they can to control our reality. But I mean, I don't know if you want me to really get into this flat Earth thing in depth. I can go on it. I can go for a while. There's literally, okay. So here's one. If you go to a body of water that's flat, right, and you have a laser beam, you go to 0 feet sea level, and then you go 10 miles across like a bay or something to 0 feet sea level. You shine your laser. This is what the Marine did to prove to me. You shine your laser across 10 miles. There should be the platform that you build on the other side of that 10 miles is going to have to be a couple meters tall because of the curvature of the Earth. You're going from 0 sea level to 0 sea level, but there's all this curvature. Okay, but the laser beam, it goes right over to 0 sea level. You don't have to build a platform, right? There's all sorts of experiments like that with lasers, or even architectural achievements such as the Panama Canal, or you talk to anybody who's ever designed anything, like a building of a road or a railroad. They never take into consideration the curvature of the Earth. When planes are flying, they just fly straight. They never take into consideration the spinning or the curvature of the Earth, right? So yeah, I mean, I encourage people to do their own research. The ancient Chaldeans, Chaldeans, they were mathematicians. They were totally on point, and they were astrologers, and they knew a lot, and they were a civilization that they have countless different achievements that are all mathematically significant and not, you can't disprove any of their stuff. And they said that that we live on a flat plane, that the heavenly bodies, that they move around above us, and that's that. I'm pretty suspicious of what's up with the moon. The moonlight that's supposedly reflected sunlight. That light doesn't have the same properties as the sunlight. How is sunlight bouncing off of the moon and then changing its properties? It's not. It's a different light altogether. The light is cold. It causes things to decompose. It's actually the opposite of what sunlight is like. So any high school science teacher can prove to you that moonlight is not sunlight. Also, if the moon causes the tides, then how are the Great Lakes not affected by this tidal influence? How come there's no tidal pull on the Great Lakes if the moon is doing it? There's a lot of questions that we look to NASA for the answers, and then we're fed a bunch of BS. So, even the pictures that were shown and the Apollo missions and the Van Allen belt and all this stuff, like, we're told there's this radioactive Van Allen belt, but then we're shown that people went to the moon and stuff like that. How did they get through this Van Allen belt that we're told exists? So ultimately, from what I've gathered and researched and talked to different researchers and stuff like that, we are kept in the dark on so many different levels so that we can't come into our true powers. If we knew that Earth was just the school, that all these different souls from around the interdimensional realm came to the school to shed karma, to learn and grow, and to evolve our consciousness to eventually have this spiritual awakening thing, and if we knew the plan, that we were actually in a very unique place and not this little dot in the galaxy of galaxies and all this stuff, if we knew how important we were and what we were, we could come into our true powers, and the Illuminati and all these scumbags that are trying to dictate our destiny, they would have no power over us. But because we're kept in the dark and fed a bunch of lies, some have said that it creates a soul trap, because even our souls are confused once we leave our bodies. But either way, the true power comes when we start resonating with truth. And I think that chemtrails is the beginning of that resonance. Once you can wake up to chemtrails and you really ask the universe or what have you, you ask spirit that you want more truth and that you're ready for the truth will set you free. Okay? It's a frequency. And once you really call in that frequency, all the other truths are going to come, you know? And like I said, I'm just the messenger, you know, so don't go not watching the movie because maybe I don't agree in the paradigm that you've been spoon-fed.
And at the beginning of our program, you did mention the Las Vegas shooting, and I have to admit, I have not really looked into any sort of conspiracy stuff surrounding that. Is there a possibility that this could be a false flag event?
So the guy who they claim is the shooter, okay, if anybody's ever been to Las Vegas and been inside these hotels, the hotels have the security of like a Fort Knox, right? These casinos, I mean, if you go in there, I mean, there's so much chaos in these casinos, but if you go down and you sit at a card table, there's an eye in the sky looking at you. They phone in to the next person and they say, get that person's ID, you know? They are watching everybody. If you try to go gamble and you're underage, there's an eye in the sky that has already identified you that won't let you do it, okay? There's cameras on you when you're walking down the strip. There's cameras on you when you walk into the hotel. Everybody is on camera. Facial recognition software. They go through facial recognition software because they have people that they don't allow into their hotels because they know that they're bad, that they can cheat the system, that they know how to scam the slot machines or whatever it is, right? So the shooter supposedly carried in 40 rifles, right? 40 rifles to the 32nd floor, and there's no photo, there's nothing of him. They didn't get a single video clip of him with thousands of cameras. They would have, for one. They would have video surveillance of this guy carrying bags of rifles into his room, for one. So there's no video of the guy. So that's like the first clue. The next clue is, well, it gets really deep. It gets really deep, honestly. The hotel where the shooting came from, the CEO of the hotel is on this board of Homeland Security technology advancement. And immediately thereafter, all of the casino hotels have to put these body scanner technologies.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody, to End of Days Radio. Something very, very strange just happened. Something very, 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 very strange just happened. So, those of you that were listening live, excuse me, I gotta get a drink of water, I'm all frazzled. Those of you who are listening live, those of you on Twitter, those of you who I've been frantically texting and emailing, you already know what's going on. But when I was talking to Matt Landman just now, he was the guest that was on the show just now, he actually was talking about the Las Vegas shooting being a false flag event. Suddenly, everything shuts down. The power just completely shuts down, right? And yeah, the wind was blowing a little bit today, but the power normally does not go off from a little wind. And usually the lights will actually flicker first. I'll have some indication that there's a windstorm going on or the power might be going out. This time, nothing like that. It just went off. And normally I would say that, well, the wind is blowing, so it must have been the wind. Problem is that the show I was just doing was about weather manipulation. And during the show about weather manipulation, this show got cut off because of the weather knocking out my power. I'm sorry, but that is very, very suspicious. When does a coincidence stop being a coincidence, right? Especially when you have things like magic going on and all kinds of black budget technology, as well as timeline manipulation. You have all heard the story of the assassination attempt on my life when I was 18 years old. Well, there could be a lot of explanations for that, just like there could be a lot of explanations for what just happened just now. And I find it very convenient that there would be a little wind blowing. It makes you wonder if somebody's trying to cover their tracks, or perhaps that was simply the method they used to accomplish what they were trying to accomplish, which was to shut down the show. The same thing happened months and months ago. Many of you might remember my interview with Alfred was shut down. That time it wasn't my entire power/electricity. That time it was my internet being taken out for a number of hours, which prevented me from being able to do that interview. I had to reschedule with him. He was nice enough to come back on, and we managed to nail it out. But seriously, what the hell's going on? Somebody doesn't want me broadcasting, right? It's pretty obvious, especially the things I'm talking about. But being that Matt was not able to stay and complete the interview and do his plugs, we will have to invite him back on sometime. And also, I will give him a plug. So his website is actualactivist.com. That's actualactivist.com. And once again, his documentary is called Frankenskies. Oh my God, this is just, I'm getting tired of it. I'm getting tired of it. I mean, it sucks when you're trying to put on a show and this keeps happening. I suppose it probably wouldn't happen if I would just do a show about wrestling, or if I would do a show about golf. I really doubt these things would happen. But they do. They do. And it's not even really that they want to shut down my broadcast in the here and now. That's my opinion. I think this is a fear thing. Like, they're trying to send a message. And I'm sure that they would like me to be all worked up and afraid, but too bad for them. This isn't the first time anything like this has happened to me, and I've got a little magic myself. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. The good news is the interview was saved. This program that I used to record the show did save the interview, so we have some good news. We have hope in the darkness. We have a silver lining to these dark clouds that have rolled in. And I've got so much stuff to talk about. I don't know how much of it I'm going to get to just now. Right now, I don't know how much of this stuff I'm going to get to, but I'm going to try. Because this show's been off air for a number of weeks, and I'm not going to let some Big Brother / Illuminati / powers that be motherfuckers stop this show from going on the air and stop this message from being sent out. Oh, by the way, I did walk out onto the road to investigate and see if there's any down power lines or any trees that are leaning against the power line. And guess what I found? A bunch of playing cards on the ground. Yes, playing cards. Kind of weird, huh? Maybe a little connection to Las Vegas there with the casinos, etc., etc. Or maybe I'm just paranoid. But remember, just because you're paranoid, don't mean that they are not after you. Rest in peace, Kurt Cobain. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. You may have noticed the character of my voice has changed a bit. I am a little frazzled, I admit, but it is for a good reason. But don't worry, for Daniel is a brave young boy, and he will not be shaken by such a small occurrence as this. So, first thing I wanted to talk about is I wanted to apologize for the audio. I'm apologizing a lot tonight. I wanted to apologize for the audio from the last show. That was the show with Matthew Alford that happened early last month. Oh my god, it's been so long since I've been on air. I guess it has been a month. I'm so sorry. But the audio on there was just atrocious. And it wasn't my fault. It wasn't his fault. It was just a bad Skype connection. And some people were complaining about it. I hope that you were able to hear something. It seems to be getting a lot of downloads. But somebody raised the point that maybe I should not have released that episode. And I totally get that. I totally get that maybe that particular episode was not up to the usual quality that you're used to getting from End of Days Radio. So I do apologize. When a situation like that happens, you can either go one of two ways. You can put it up and just hope people can gain whatever they can from it, or you can just delete all of that work and just forget about it and reschedule and hope that your connection is better last time. I decided to go with option A. So sue me. Actually, don't sue me. I'm not going to invite that. Especially with all the massive amounts of crap that I talk about people on this show, so don't do that. But you know what you get what I'm saying? I just wanted to get whatever I could out there. And if you couldn't understand it, I apologize. I don't mean to waste your time. I don't mean to set you up and get you excited over something that doesn't come out the way that you're expecting. But at the same time, I did not want to waste all of that information. Okay, and the other thing is I do have an email. This gentleman, Peter, he says, Daniel, it is funny that you idolize Art Bell and Howard Stern. You are half their age and you go on break even more than they do. Okay, Peter, ha ha ha. Very funny. I get it. You don't like when I go on those long breaks and you get no End of Days Radio for like a whole month. Once again, I do apologize. Right before I went on break, I released a ton of shows. So I was taking all of this into consideration. I was planning for the break because I had some business stuff that I had to take care of in September. So I have to do that stuff so I can do this stuff. I need to have cash so that I can fund the whole operation. Because if I can't fund the operation, then End of Days Radio will be experiencing its own end of days. So I have to put the cart before the horse, or I have to put the horse before the cart, and I got to make sure that I'm actually able to fund what I'm doing here. I do want to keep this show completely free, non-profit, and free of any outside influences. And those outside influences, they don't just include advertisers or corporations, but even people that might have opinions. I try not to care what anybody thinks. I try not to let anybody's opinions affect what I believe or how I do this show. Sometimes people are right, though. Sometimes people make a suggestion or they have a complaint and they actually have a point. So I don't completely close myself out to the opinions of others. I've made great strides from simply listening, taking feedback into account. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to talk about Hillary Clinton, if that makes sense. It doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about Alex Jones. I'm not going to not talk about anything because I'm afraid. I'm not going to not give my opinion because I'm afraid of what people think. Just because we live in this politically correct world nowadays does not mean I have to be super politically correct like everybody else. That doesn't mean I want to go around offending people either. But if I have an opinion, I'm going to give it. Whether it's about chemtrails or Israel or PS4 or the Seahawks, I'm going to give my opinion. Speaking of the Seahawks, this season is not going that great, is it? I don't know what football teams all of you are into out there. Seems like everybody I talk to has their favorite team from back home. But this season is just not shaping up to what I was hoping that it would be. Excuse me. I don't consider myself to be a fair-weather fan. More like a casual fan. But things just aren't going as well as they were in previous seasons. Like when we actually won the Super Bowl. And all I can say is I hope things pick up. I hope the Hawks turn things around, and I hope that they start winning, and I hope they continue to be the same dominating team that they've always been. I know that good things don't last forever. Any team that we've had in this area, whether it was the Supersonics or the Mariners or the Seahawks, or even the Huskies, if you want to go to the college level, they've had times where they were on top, and they've had times when they weren't on top. In fact, there's been some very, very depressing times here in Seattle in the past. But you just kind of got to let it go, because it's going to happen again. We're eventually going to have that championship team again. Hopefully we get another basketball team up here. That's some bullshit I could go into, but this isn't a sports show, so I'm not going to bore you about it. Hopefully things pick up. Also, it seems that the mayor of Seattle, who I have been very critical of on this show and in my life, it seems he has finally thrown in the towel and he decided to resign from his position. And I am glad. What can I say? I'm glad. The guy, he obviously was a complete perv, not because he's a homosexual, but because he was targeting very young men. And it seems like there was a lot of coercion involved, and he was doing things that were immoral and unethical, and he had a lot of people supporting him. The gay community was really behind him. They would defend him nonstop, but even it seems like even they have finally turned their back on our former Seattle mayor, because all this new information came up. I think what it was, it's funny because the show's been off air so long, I forgot a lot of these facts, but I believe a family member of his actually came forward and reported that he had been molested in the past. So that's it. We're going to have a new mayor, or somebody's going to fill in that position until our next election or whatever. And hopefully whoever takes up the mantle does a better job. Does a better job with the homeless problem. That's the number one thing that I'd like to see fixed. So that's another bit of news that I need to talk about. Let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, this guy's been texting me. I don't know who the hell he is. I get texts from him like maybe once a year, and it's been going on for a while. And he texts me, hey. And I text, hi. And he texts something, how are you doing? And I text, who the hell are you? What do you want? And he tells me that his name is Fred and he's looking for Nicole. Well, Fred keeps trying to text me at this number, and he must know that Nicole doesn't have this phone number by now. He must know that it's my number. So why is he still trying to get a hold of Nicole through this phone number? What's your malfunction, buddy? Nicole doesn't live here. I'm not Nicole. Stop texting me. It's like he's so in love with Nicole. This Nicole did something to him. She really got in his head, and now he'll do anything to talk to Nicole again. He'll even text some guy that's getting pissed off because he's tired of getting texted about Nicole. So Fred, if you're out there, I really doubt you listen to this show, but if you're out there, please fuck off. Seriously. Quit texting me. Quit trying to get a hold of Nicole. I'm not Nicole. I hope that this is real. I hope that you really are looking for Nicole and you're not some freaking Illuminati that's harassing me or something. I got my foil hat on today, obviously. But I'm tired of it. I'm tired of getting texts from Fred looking for Nicole. But I do acknowledge that Nicole must really have been something for Fred to keep bothering me about getting a hold of Nicole. She's just not that into you, bro. Let it go. What else do we have going on? Okay, so something has happened since I was last on the radio. I discovered the world of drones. Now, I know what you're thinking. Drones are stupid. They're just to spy on people. Why would Daniel be talking about drones? Well, it all got started when I was browsing YouTube and I came across some really cool drone footage. It was some footage of the city, and I was blown away by the quality, the fact that this person was able to get such cool videography going at nighttime. I was really impressed with that. And the fact that it was able to fly so high and fly over the city and not crash. And I started to think, like, what is up with these? Is this something that I might want to buy one of these days? And I started watching more YouTube videos and I started getting more into it, and holy crap, these things are cool. There's this company, it's called DJI, and they make aerial photography drones. They make drones. They're like the world's leading company in making drones. And we were talking about drones in the interview earlier, but these aren't fancy military drones with guns and shit on them. These are just consumer level drones that a person would use to take pictures and spy on their neighbors or whatever, right? But oh my god, these things are cool. Like this thing called the DJI Spark. It's just the size of maybe a dinner plate, actually smaller, about the size of your hand. And it could go fly high up into the clouds, and it can take high definition video footage, and it can hover on its own, and you don't even have to be good at flying them, and you can do all sorts of stuff with it. I mean, this technology is insane. If you have not looked into this, please check out the Spark. There's another one called the Mavic. The old one's called the Phantom. These things are seriously cool. So I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on something that would crash right away. So I went out and I bought a cheaper drone. I bought one from Big Five. It worked for like a minute, then it went dead, and I was really disappointed. So I returned it, got my money back, researched online, found out about another one that's cheaper. It's called the Bugs 3 for any of you that are interested out there. I found one that was cheaper that actually it doesn't hover on its own. It's considered a racing drone, I guess. And it comes with a remote. It's pretty high quality for what I paid. I paid about $100 for it. And holy crap, this thing is fun. It flies at like 45 miles an hour. The first day that I tried it out, I crashed it in all kinds of trees. I took it to my old childhood elementary school, and got it stuck in a tree, and I had to shake the tree in order to get it back down. And I smashed it against rocks, I smashed it against more trees, and eventually I started to kind of get the hang of it. So I can kind of fly it now. I could fly it in a circle, I can do little flips, I could take it really high up into the atmosphere, and it's not one of the fancy ones like these ones from DJI. It's more of a simple racing type of drone. But if you haven't gotten into this, if you haven't watched any of the videos on YouTube, if you haven't become aware, I highly recommend you check this out. Drones are seriously badass. And drone racing is actually becoming popular. And what you do is you have a camera in the nose of the drone, and you put on these first-person view goggles, like this virtual reality headset, and you actually can feel like you're flying. I haven't gotten into that yet. That's going to be like the next thing. I'm going to actually get the full-on virtual reality and all that. But who knows what I could accomplish with this drone. I might be able to go check out some underground bases, or who knows. I might be able to like do some sort of scouting to check out certain areas. I might even catch Bigfoot or Sasquatch on the drone's camera as well. So this could come in handy in the world of paranormal and conspiracy and supernatural and stuff like that. And yes, I am still working on the video project that I'm doing. I wanted to take End of Days Radio on the road a little bit, and hopefully when I get some of this equipment, I'll be able to actually put something together that you guys will enjoy. Like everything is an investment into the show, is an investment into spreading truth and making people aware, etc., etc. So I'm not just buying toys here. I'm going to use this stuff for the show. Also, let's see here. I did want to talk about the shooting in Las Vegas, and I know it's a super sensitive topic, so I don't want to offend anybody. I know it's really soon to be talking about it in a political sort of sense, and like I talked about earlier with Matt, I haven't really looked into the conspiracy side of things in regards to this event. With Sandy Hook, I did the same thing. After it happened, I said I'm going to reserve judgment until I figure out more what was going on. So I haven't, like I was saying, I haven't really looked into the conspiracy side of things, but obviously after it happened, you all seen this. All the liberal types, the gun control people, they were making a big ruckus and complaining and saying, well, when is a good time to talk about it? No, we gotta change these laws. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get that people are scared. I get that people are upset. But we gotta take some things into consideration here. The first thing to consider is that this guy who committed this atrocious act, he was not following our gun laws. He obviously had an illegal weapon, or he modified his weapon in an illegal way. That's not something that we can control. We can't get rid of every gun by making guns illegal. They're still going to get into this country, whether we like it or not. In fact, you can make a gun. Now we have 3D printers where you can print up parts, and even before then, you could still make a gun. You can even take a normal rifle and modify it into an automatic. I've heard of people doing it. I don't know how it's done. I'm not a huge gun guy. But I know for a fact that you can do it to a rifle that is not considered a semi-automatic or an assault rifle or anything like that. An assault rifle, like an AR-15, for example, it's nothing but a very dependable, reliable, accurate rifle. That's all it is. It's not some killing machine. Yes, it has a clip. But again, you can modify any existing rifle or even a handgun and give it a clip or an extended clip. It doesn't really make it dangerous in itself. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, there were 22,000 people at that concert. 50 of them died. A lot more were injured. But out of 22,000 people, and I don't mean any insensitivity or disrespect by saying this, but the fact that the great vast majority of them survived, I mean, think about it. That's good. It means the cops did their job. They got there quickly. People helped each other. Imagine if somebody would have put bombs everywhere. Then thousands and thousands of people probably would have died. And how many people die around the world from drone strikes? How many people die from starvation? How many people die in the Gaza Strip? Right? How many people around the world are dying due to our negligence? I mean, not to say that we should go around solving every problem, but how many people are really dying? Look at all the homeless people everywhere. You don't think any of them are dying? So why are people going around screaming and crying about gun control? Because it's part of the propaganda. It's part of the mind control. It's what they are trying to shove down all of our throats. That's why. Right after the Las Vegas thing happened, Hillary Clinton was already talking about it. Hillary Clinton, who is a complete piece of shit, let's be honest, whose husband is a complete piece of shit, yet people they actually defend these people for God knows why, because they're dumb liberals that listen to whatever the media says. And I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but you know what? Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. I'm heated right now. I'm worked up. I'm worked into a frenzy. And I am tired of all this PC bullshit. I'm tired of all this politically correct nonsense. And I'm tired of people being disrespectful enough to people who just died to actually start talking politics after a tragedy like this just happened. And I know I'm kind of doing it too, but it's been a little while. And I'm more responding to the gun control people that are trying to make it an issue, that would take a tragedy and try to turn it into a political manipulation. And it does raise the question of, was this a false flag? Maybe if my show didn't get taken out earlier, we would have gotten some more information on that. But it seems that the powers that be don't want us talking about anything like that. But I will, because I can. I do because I can. And what was the other thing? The other thing, I guess, is just that guns don't kill people, people kill people. I don't understand how some of these younger folk or these liberals go around and they act like they want the government to be our parent. They want some authority there to tell us what toys we can and can't play with. And I'm not saying that full-on automatic weapons should be legal or rocket launchers should be legal. I'm not saying anything like that. But do we need any more laws? Is that going to solve the problem? No. Look at these other countries like England where somebody with a knife stabs up like 50 people. There's all kinds of things like that going on around the world. People use knives, they use bombs, they use gas to hurt each other. People kill people, not guns. And you don't even need guns. You can make explosives using household chemicals. If you're so inclined and you really know what you're doing. I'm not advocating that by any means, of course not. You better not be doing that. But the point is that there's not some huge epidemic of death going on in this country. Anytime something does happen, the media completely blows it out of proportion. And I'm not saying this particular event doesn't deserve the attention. Of course it does. I'm not saying that. But the media is there to manipulate us. It shouldn't even be called the media. It should be called the manipulator, because that's all that they do. They try to manipulate us with their agenda that is paid for by the corporations and the interests that own the media. That's all owned by the same people. They want guns to be illegal because it's just another way of taking our power away and putting it into their hands. Make no mistake. Do you know who else took guns away? A lot of you know this. Yeah, a guy named Adolf Hitler. That's right, he took guns away. Why do you think that was? Because he was a fucking fascist. That's why. Wake up, people. You seriously want that? Where are you getting this from? Because dumbass celebrities say that's what we should do? Because dumbass, empty-headed, pea-brained people like Katy Perry think that? Hey, Katy Perry looks great. I've said it time and time again. She looks phenomenal. But do I really care about her opinion? No. I don't even care about the opinions of people that are way smarter than that vapid bitch. I'm not even saying she's a bitch. She seems nice enough, but she's kind of being one with all her political bullshit, isn't she? Katy Perry, you bitch. Ugh. Whoops, I just touched the mic. Sorry. I mean, if there's any case for somebody that's been MK Ultra, it's got to be Katy Perry. Have any of you seen that live video feed that she was doing where she had the eyeballs everywhere and there's all that symbolism? Creepy stuff. These people are just part of the agenda, these celebrities, these characters, as you will. Because that's what they really are, they're characters. And they're playing a role. They're acting. Like me, I'm acting right now. I'm acting a little crazy. Bleh. But I gotta be me. Even if that means being a lunatic. I gotta be me. You gotta like yourself. You gotta like you for who you are, not who you want to be. Remember that. You aren't who you want to be. You are who you are. A lot of people see themselves as who they want to be. But that's not you, is it? It's a lie. How many times have you looked in the mirror and saw yourself as you minus 30 pounds, or you with better teeth, or you that isn't losing all your hair? How many times have you done that? When was the last time you really looked at yourself, who you are, in the here and now? When was the last time? And don't feel bad, because everybody out there is doing it. Everybody out there, they live in a world of false expectations and illusions. They live in a world of, I'm not me. I'm me minus 20, 30 pounds. I'm me without a big honking ass crooked nose. It's true. That's how people see themselves. They don't see their flaws. They see themselves as who they want to be instead of who they really are. Why do you think people do awful things? Because they can lie to themselves and forget about it. They can lie to themselves. That's what everybody out there is doing. Matt made... Oh man, that guy is smart. I gotta get him back on here. He is really smart. He was talking about all kinds of stuff that I discovered personally that I tell people and nobody listens. And it was so refreshing hearing somebody else that notices what the hell's going on. Whether it's the mind control or flat earth or the chemtrails or whatever, I feel exactly the same way as that guy. We couldn't both be crazy, could we? I never heard of him before. Right? Well, anyways, I did want to thank somebody for actually referring Matt Landman to the show. And this person, I don't know if they want me to say their name or anything like that, so I'm just going to give a shout out to the letter K because that symbolizes who this person is, and I just wanted to give a little shout out and say thanks for referring the guest. You know, because it's nice, and I'm nice. Most of the time. Okay, we do have a news story. This is from drudgenow.com. Apparently, killer clowns are taking over Australia. You've heard of the clowning thing, right? It's becoming popular nowadays. People are dressing up like clowns. And they're walking on people's porches so that the camera on the person's porch captures them being a clown, and it's supposed to be really scary and whatnot. Some people are running through the woods dressed as clowns, holding machetes. Everybody wants to be a killer clown nowadays. And why? Is it because of the movie It? Which I have not seen yet. I have not seen the new remake of It. I've only seen the old miniseries. I have not seen the new one. Is that why? Because of It? I don't know. But if you are going to actually dress up as a clown and try to scare people, if you end up getting shot in the stomach, I don't feel sorry for you. Think about what you're doing. You're dressing like a killer clown and you're scaring the crap out of people. I'm afraid of clowns. I admit, I am afraid of them. I don't know what the hell they're supposed to be. They wear white makeup. They have red lips. They have makeup on. They have clown hair, fluffy clown hair, and big shoes. I don't understand what I'm looking at. I'm looking at some kind of thing. I don't know where clowns came from. I don't know what they're supposed to represent, but I hate them. They shouldn't even exist. They look ridiculous and scary. How is that supposed to bring a smile on my face? No clown has ever brought a smile on my face. Yeah, except maybe the Joker when he's doing something cool. Not that the Joker is cool, but you know what I mean. Like when the Joker does something cool in a movie, you think, oh, that's kind of neat. But I've never seen a normal clown and thought, oh, that's cool, or oh, that's funny, or oh, I'm entertained, or oh, that makes me smile. No. Seeing clowns does not make me want to smile. Seeing clowns makes me want to shit and puke. That's it. And why anybody would want to be a clown, I don't know. Maybe it was different back in the day. Before there was TV, before there was radio, all you could do was go to the circus, and the only type of entertainment anybody had was people dressing up like clowns and bopping each other over the head. I don't know. I have all the respect in the world for anybody that invests themselves in their profession. And if you're a clown and that's your thing, I don't mean to disparage you. But I personally don't like clowns very much. When I was a kid, I was like 3 years old. I got taken to the circus and I puked all over myself because of a clown. That's right. It started early on and it's still going. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people out there hate clowns. And as far as the movie It, It looks cool. I want to see it. But it's playing on a fear people have of clowns. And maybe people have this fear for a reason. Who knows? Maybe clowns represent some dark force. Some dark force of chaos within the mind of the subconscious. Who knows? Also, it seems that somebody found an alien coin. There's actually this story going around that somebody found a coin and it seems to have a Roman guy on the front. The only thing is that he has an alien gray head. Pretty funny, right? From what I can tell, it looks like a hoax. I'm sure some of you might remember the Abraham Lincoln pennies that were going around that had him smoking a cigarette. That's something from way back in the day. Those pennies are considered to be worth money, I'm pretty sure. But they're called hobo coins or something like that. You can actually take a coin and heat it up and actually change its shape and make it seem like there's something on the coin that shouldn't be there, like an alien head, for example. So that's probably all that it is. Somebody trying to hop aboard the ancient aliens bandwagon and hoax. That's what it is. It's a hoax. And as many of you know, I absolutely hate hoaxes of any kind. I hate hoaxes. They are the biggest time waster. I hate being hoaxed. I hate being tricked. I hate investing time and energy into something that's fake. You know what that is? That is energy vampirism if you are hoaxing. And you're making something up and you're getting people to pay attention to you and it's fake and they're going off the idea that it's real, then you're being a dick. You're just wasting people's time. You're being selfish. You're trying to get attention. Please do not hoax. And obviously, I run across that a lot, being somebody that's into the paranormal and has a podcast about the paranormal. If that's even what this show's about, I say this show's about magic. This show's about magic. It's not a paranormal show. It's not a supernatural show. It's not a conspiracy show. This show's about magic. It is about awakening the power within. It is about discovering who and what you really are and what you're here to do. So above anything, above the aliens and the ghosts and the Sasquatches with their big 12-inch dongs, above any of that stuff, this show is about magic, and it is about hope, and it is about healing, and it is about rediscovering who you are and what you are. And never forget that. What was I talking about just now? Oh, the fake coin. Yeah, that's right. So that coin is probably fake. Yeah. Let's see, what else do I have here? You know, that's pretty much everything. I think I lost some of my notes when the power went out. Don't ask me how that happened, but I had a few more things I was supposed to talk about, and I can't quite get to. All of you are obviously aware of the whole thing going on with North Korea. That's another big thing going on in the media, and I'm sure many of you want to know how I feel about that, and I do think it's scary, but it seems that a lot of the experts seem to think that Kim Jong-un does not have any nuclear weapons. That he is talking himself up. He's trying to make it seem like he has more than he actually does. And it's a bunch of saber rattling. The First Korean War never ended. That's the whole problem. So these people are still at war with us, and they always have been. That's something that people, I think, don't really realize when they're talking about North Korea. That their behavior is a little bit more normal than you probably think, considering we never stopped having a war with them. All that we had was a truce. T-R-U-C-E, a truce. That's all we had with North Korea. So we've always been at war with them. It's not like they're really being as provocative as we might think, because the war never ended. It's always been going. There's just been quiet periods. And during the original North Korean War, North Korea was completely decimated by U.S. military. So please don't be that afraid. I mean, think about it. They don't even have intercontinental ballistic missiles yet. We could go in and wipe out everything once they get their first one. And I can only assume that China is behind a lot of this. I can only assume that North Korea and Kim Jong-un are probably puppets to China on some level. How are they getting food to their people? How are they able to pull their bullshit for years and years? It's because I wouldn't say they're being protected by China, but obviously China has some kind of interest there. I do think that we would have taken care of that problem a long time ago if China wasn't right there, ready to step in at any moment. Oh, I just got an email from Matt Landman. He says thanks and agrees that the whole situation was a bummer. And check this out. He actually clued me in on something very similar happening to another show. They were talking about the Las Vegas shooting, and clerplump, everything went out. Coincidence or what? By the way, the wind seems to have completely died down. So whatever that little burst was exactly that. It was a burst, and it seems to have ended. Go figure, right? A sudden mini windstorm when I'm doing a show about weather manipulation and talking about a possible recent false flag event, which is obviously a very taboo topic right now because there are various agendas at play. So I can only make assumptions as to what was going on exactly, or is going on. But just know this. Know that I'm not going to back down. Ever. I'm not going to back down. This show has a mission. It has a purpose. I started this show in 2012. It's still going. It's 2017. That's 5 fucking years. Right? How many people have I gotten through to in that time period? How many seeds have been planted? I'm not going to stop. And I know why you want to stop this show. It's because it appeals to everybody. It's a different type of show that appeals to everybody. That's why you want to stop it. But you're not going to stop me. I'm not going to quit. I don't have any other purpose in the here and now other than to get this information out and to do this show. I'm not going to quit. You will have to kill me. You will have to kill me. Because I'm not going to stop. You're going to have to kill me. That's right. I'm going all the way in, baby. I'm not stopping. I'm going all the way. There's nothing I won't talk about on this program. If you've been turned down by other programs because your stuff is too far out, because nobody will have you, because it's too dangerous, well, you are always welcome on End of Days Radio. And they can throw storms at me. They can send assassins after me. They can send weird invisible monsters into my living room to crumple up chip bags randomly. They can do all that stuff. I'm not going to stop. They can even rape me. Please don't rape me. I don't want to go through that. Don't rape me. That's not cool. But they can even rape me. And I will still keep going. That's how committed I am. Oh, by the way, we haven't done our mind-blowing moment of the day. And I almost forgot. Just because of all the craziness that's been going on. Let me grab my little maraca. All right. Yeah, man. It's time for the mind-blowing moment of the day. You're blowing my mind. Blowing my mind. Blowing my balls. Blowing my mind. Whew. Anyways. I'm going to go ahead and say that today's mind-blowing moment of the day would be when the power got taken out. That is indeed very mind-blowing. Like I said, this is the second time my broadcast has been interfered with, has been halted by external forces. And I believe that there are no coincidences. And perhaps I'm paranoid, or perhaps I'm not. I will let you, the listener, be the judge. And that's that. I do have some plugs I got to give out. I do this every show. We do have the entire month booked up now. We're going to be talking to our buddy Todd next week. Everybody loves Todd. I get tons of feedback about him and how much everybody loves his calls. So we're going to do it again. We're going to do another interview with him, and hopefully this time he won't be completely smashed. Those of you who have been listening to the show for a while, you might remember the first Todd interview. We were doing good for about, 40 minutes, and then Todd simply became too smashed to even talk to. I think he was a little nervous, but we're going to try it again, and we're going to try to get some more information out of Todd. He has a lot to say. I've had a lot of private conversations with him, and I would say not even 1/1000th of the information came out in that first interview. So we're going to do it again. We are going to be talking to the legendary Todd Miller next week. And we also have Gary Parker coming on October 19th. He's going to be talking about aliens, one of my favorite topics. And we've got the legendary, I don't know what to even call him. This guy is out of this world. His name's Adam Kokesh. A lot of people think that he is former child actor who's now deceased, Jonathan Brandis. And I've talked about him on this show before. We're finally going to have him on. His team, his group of people that surround him, they contacted me, and he is actually going to be running for president or running for not for president. And he wants to come on this show, and he wants to talk about it. And I am more than happy to have him on here, because what a fascinating individual. He is a hardcore libertarian, so we're going to be talking about gun rights. We're going to be talking about false flags. We're going to be talking about all of it. There's so much to discuss with him. And let's not forget, at the end of the month, yes, it is October, we will be doing our annual Halloween extravaganza. That's right. You guys know that I love Halloween. You know that Halloween is my favorite holiday, especially when you're doing a show like this. And I'm not sure who the guest is going to be. I haven't gotten that far, but we are likely going to be having some special guests visiting us. Or maybe not. Maybe we'll just open up the phone lines and party that night. Who knows? I mean, it's Halloween, right? Not everybody's out there trick-or-treating. Some of you people don't have anything to do. Kind of like me, so I'm not going to be going out to some fucking party or anything like that. I'm not going out to a bar or not going out to any sort of clubs or anything like that. I'm going to be right here behind this mic doing what I do best, which is setting fire to this mic and setting fire to the world and hoping that I don't burn myself in the process. So that's what we have to look forward to. End of Days Radio is back. It is back, and it is on the attack. And we are ready. I am ready. We are ready. Because you guys are part of this show too. And oh my God, I'm getting so pumped. I don't even know why. I'm just excited because, look, this past, what has it been? Half a year, almost a year. It has been so amazing with this show. We have gone places that I never thought we would go. We have put on some really outstanding shows, and it's just going to continue. And I feel it. I feel the energy. I do. It's so hard to explain. It's like I just really feel the magic at work. And I see some of what you guys are doing out there. I see these shows popping up, and some of them seem to have a little End of Days Radio influence attached to them. And believe me, I am completely fine with that, because what better way to get this stuff out there than to actually inspire the masses to go onto their own individual platforms and just get this information out there even more and more. That's what it's really all about. It's about planting seeds. It's about planting seeds with your friends, with your loved ones, with your coworkers, with your gardener, with your mailman, anybody, with your secret lover who only meets with you on Wednesday nights in the back of your pickup. Yeah, even that person. You gotta wake up everybody, even if you are a unethical piece of shit that cheats. Right? Okay. Anyways, plugs. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and YouTube. Follow me on Twitter. That's @NinjaShoes. Search EODR on your TuneIn Radio app. Remember, you can call in the show at 209-348-9810. Just allow me to get started with the guest. Don't call in as soon as I go on air. Don't be rude. People complain about that. And also, you can add me on Skype. That's ninjashoes777/endofdaysradio. And like us on Facebook at The Real End of Days Radio, facebook.com/The Real End of Days Radio. And if you like the show, if you'd like to donate, if you would like to help keep the lights on and the servers up, at End of Days Radio. Go to endofdaysradio.com. From there, you can click on the donate button and donate through PayPal. Real easy. You donate $5, $10. It all adds up. It all goes to a good cause, which is keeping this show rocking hard into the night. Excuse me, I had a burp. And if you go to endofdaysradio.com, you can also check the upcoming schedule of shows. You can check out the forum. Still trying to build the forum. I'm trying to make an effort to post more stuff in there when I can. If any of you would like to help me with that, I would be very grateful, because I'm really trying hard to get a good truth community going on in that forum. Some other shows have them, and I want this show to have them. So if you wouldn't mind helping me get that community going, then I would be very appreciative of that. And again, I'm sorry about that break. That was way too long of a break. I totally get that. I had other stuff going on in my life, but I just have to get to stuff when I can get to it. And I don't ever want to do that again. I really don't. I don't want to leave you guys hanging for a month or even 2 weeks or anything like that. I want this show to go back to being on once a week. I think that's enough, especially when I'm busting my ass at work and doing other things. I think once a week is probably enough. I can't guarantee it'll be on this night or that night or Saturday night or Sunday morning or anything like that. I just got to do it when I can, but I will not stop. They're going to have to kill me, and that might not even be enough. They'll have to kill me, and then they'll have to trap my soul in a lamp, and then I'll become a genie. Something like that. But they're not going to stop me, even with death, because when you kill me, you know what happens? You know what happens when you kill me? I just become even more powerful. Just like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You kill me and you set me free, and I'll get back my ancestral memories and my powers, and then I'm coming for you, motherfuckers. I'm coming for you. I'm going to haunt the shit out of you. I'm going to molest you while you're in your bed sleeping at night. I'm going to stick broomsticks in places where broomsticks shouldn't go. You just wait. You just go ahead and kill me, and I will be the worst ghost that you ever run into. You dig? Okay, thanks. Oh, I'm fired up today. Let's see, how long have we been on air? Well, it's going to be a good over 2-hour show. I think that's quite enough. So, everybody out there, once again, thank you for being part of End of Days Radio. Thank you for listening. I promise not to go on any insanely long breaks like that again. I promise to keep coming back, and I promise to keep saying the stuff that other people are too big of pussies to say. I promise. In fact, I'm going to get even worse. I'm going to turn into an even bigger asshole than ever. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not an asshole. I'm a nice guy. Really, I am. If you knew me, you would know this. But I'm going to take it even further. I'm coming unhinged. I'm tired of people telling me what to do. I'm tired of people telling me what to say. And I know you are too. I know you're sick of all this PC shit. So consider this your outlet. Consider this to be the one place that you can go where you can be yourself and you don't have to put up with all of that fucking bullshit. Ugh. Okay, I better end the show. Thank you, everybody. This is the End of Days, and I'm Daniel. You have a good night.
Winter's coming.
The king has returned from the broken ruins of Babylon. This is the